period of the monkeypox virus is 5 to 21 days. So kailangan maobserbahan po natin na maigi, especially those who are quarantining, kung sila ay magkakaroon ng simptomas during this time period.
The country can test up to 1,000 samples for monkeypox daily through the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. But testing is limited to those with symptoms, especially skin lesions.
We cannot test everybody who has fever. Dahil mauubusan din po ang resources natin, it's not very practical and rational.
No treatment for monkeypox has yet been approved in the country, so symptoms will be treated as they appear.
Bagamat rare ang fatality rate ng monkeypox, mayroon din pong 10% chance kung tatamaan kayo nito, lalong-lalo na kung kayo ay immunocompromised.
To prevent its spread, DOH advises patients to avoid scratching or manipulating the skin. Keep the lesions dry, clean, and covered. Doctors also advise disinfecting commonly touched surfaces, practicing good hand hygiene, and avoiding direct contact with possibly contaminated materials like patients' bed linens and used clothing. It's also best to use separate utensils.
Lahat ng mga gamit yan, bago mo hawakan, magsuot ka ng gloves, no? Maghugas ng kamay, magsuot ng gloves, and then ilagay mo siya sa tamang lagayan na hindi ma-access at hindi magalaw ng ibang tao.
Health officials remind the public anyone could get monkeypox through close contact, exchange of body fluids, and through respiratory droplets. But unlike COVID-19, it doesn't spread through the air over long distances. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Vergara clarifies the Filipino in Singapore found positive for monkeypox is different from the Philippines' first case. The health department sees no need yet to tighten border controls to prevent the entry of more monkeypox cases. The agency points out intensified surveillance efforts are needed. The country's first monkeypox case was a 31-year-old Filipino who arrived from abroad last month. The patient had prior travel to countries with documented monkeypox cases.
Hindi po natin papalitan ang ating restrictions sa ngayon sa ating borders. Unang-una, even the WHO has declared that this virus, the threat of this virus is low to moderate risk. At sinabi din nila, hindi natin kailangang itigil ang trade, hindi natin kailangan mag-restrict ng ating borders. No recommendations from our experts regarding this matter. Ang kailangan natin lahat gawin is to intensify our surveillance efforts. Ang ating mga kababayan, dapat lahat tayo alam natin ang simptomas.
Vergara says the first case had no symptoms when he arrived, but the patient had a fever which resolved before his flight back to the Philippines. Rashes only appeared a few days after arrival. We're learning more about the wake and funeral arrangements for former President Fidel V. Ramos. The bereaved family released details just this afternoon. Our George Quiles joins us live from the gates at Heritage Park in Taguig. George, what do we know so far?
While grieving, the family of the former president wants to celebrate his life dedicated to service to the country. They released a schedule of the wake of former President Fidel Ramos. Which will start on August 4, Thursday. They also designated certain dates and time for different groups and sectors to pay the last respects. This is to manage the flow of the guests and ensure that COVID-19 health protocols will be followed. August 4 is dedicated to government officials and members of the Ramos cabinet. August 5 is for government officials, members of the diplomatic corps and civil society groups, and members of the media who covered Ramos in the Defense Department and Malacanang. August 6 is for military and law enforcement members, veterans, and members of the Rotary Club of Manila. Public viewing will be on August 7 and 8. The burial will be on August 9, Tuesday, at 10 a.m. at Dalibingan ng mga bayani. The family of the former president expresses their gratitude to all those who have sent their messages of sympathy and support. They also sent their thanks to the armed forces and the office of the president for their assistance. Pia.
George, where are FDR's remains now, and does his family have requests for guests at the wake?
Well, Pia, the niece of the former president, Lila Shahani, says the family wants some private time as they grieve here at the Heritage Park. Now, for those who will visit the wake, they are requesting them to wear white. And for those who plans to send flowers, they are requesting them to instead donate to the foundations that are close to the heart of the former president. Pia?
George Quiles there reporting. As the country mourns the former President Ramos, we look back at a CNN Philippines exclusive interview in 2016 where Mr. Ramos talked about the lessons he learned as chief executive, the challenges then President-elect Rodrigo Duterte would face, and the opportunities they both had to unite the nation after a divisive election. The full interview airs tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. and again same time on Saturday, August 6th. Coming up on Newsnight, all eyes on U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Asia and a possible stopover in Taiwan, a move frowned upon by China. And a lawmaker wants an extra month's pay for Filipino workers. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni bay.
Ito ang RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKT 1071 sa inyong mga radyo, ang Radyo Ronda sa Davao.
This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. The government is working to address a possible shortage of sugar with prices on the rise. President Bongbong Marcos, who is also Agriculture Secretary, met with his department and sugar industry stakeholders Friday. A DA official says the agency will meet again with concerned sectors tomorrow to discuss the recommended volume of sugar needed.
We have to make sure first we have a proper inventory kung ano yung ating supply situation before we can even recommend kung magkano pa, gaano karaming volume pa po ang kakailanganan. But what we are looking at right now is the supply at hand, no? Dito kung ano ang meron tayong supply dito sa ating bansa, and most likely, no, how to make this sugar available para sa ating mga household consumers. Dahil po, alam natin na ang ating sugar po, yung pag-demand po ang pinag-uusapan, nahahati po yan sa household consumption at sa industrial.
The Sugar Regulatory Administration recently said supply could run out this month if the government does not import. Senators speak up on President Marcos's decision not to rejoin the International Criminal Court. Senator Bato de la Rosa among those who support the move. He calls himself the number 2 accused in the ICC probe into the Duterte administration's drug war. De la Rosa was National Police Chief at the height of the drug war in 2016.
Lalabas at lalabas ang katotohanan, but not before them, before a Filipino court. Palabasin natin ang katotohanan dito sa Filipino court na ito. May kung nga sa inyo right here, right now, pwede nyo akong bitayin. Basta magbitay sa akin yung korte ng Pilipinas.
Senate Committee on Foreign Relations Vice Chairman Francis Tolentino says the move reflects the country's independent foreign policy and sovereignty. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva says while he respects the President's decision, the country should consider returning to the ICC. He hopes to speak to Mr. Marcos or to send a message either through Senate President Mig Zubiri or Presidential Sister Senator Amy Marcos. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel disagrees with the policy, but he notes the decision is a presidential prerogative. Pimentel's only colleague in the minority, Risa Hontiveros, calls Mr. Marcos's move regrettable. Hontiveros says she hopes the president will not block investigations of supposed violations that took place before the country withdrew from the Rome Statute in 2019. Needy senior citizens are set to get double their monthly pensions. The bill raising the pension from 500 to 1,000 pesos has lapsed into law. Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva says some 4 million senior citizens are expected to benefit from the law. Villanueva says the law would need a funding of 22 to 24 billion pesos per year. Without a budget this year, he says funding may come from tax proceeds from offshore gaming operators and so-called sin taxes, among others.
I have to admit na when we passed this law, wala pang budget nung pinas natin yung batas, no? So that's reality. Number two, kung meron tayong magagawa, as we mentioned a while ago, and we are looking and monitoring the agencies and departments, sino yung gumagastos. I cannot promise na by next month, for example, ma-implement ito, no? Dahil yung IRR, hihintayin din po natin.
Meanwhile, a lawmaker is again pushing for a 14th month pay for all workers. Kabayan Party List Representative Ron Salo filed a bill seeking the additional pay for workers in the public and private sector regardless of employment status. Salo says the 13th month pay should be given on or before May 31st, ahead of the opening of classes, and the 14th month pay before Christmas. The lawmaker filed a similar bill in the 18th Congress, but it did not get past the committee level. World developments now. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi expected to visit Taiwan during her tour of Asia. The trip could spark even greater instability between the U.S. and China, which is now threatening military action. Beijing considers Taiwan a renegade province. Tristan Odalo tells us how this could affect the Philippines.
The Philippine government is closely monitoring the developments on the visit of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Asia, which may include a historic visit to Taiwan, something that China firmly rejects and has opposed in the recent days. In a statement, the DFA urges the U.S. and China to ensure proper communication and avoid any miscalculation and further escalation of tensions. The Philippines also expects the two countries to be responsible actors in the region. From Singapore, Pelosi is expected to travel to Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan. Taiwan is not included in her official itinerary. The Chinese Foreign Ministry slams Pelosi's possible Taiwan visit and warns that it could lead to serious consequences. Beijing adds that they are closely monitoring Pelosi's trip as a visit to Taiwan is considered a gross interference in China's sovereignty.
People's Liberation Army will not sit back. China will take resolute and strong countermeasures to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Foreign policy experts are also keeping close tabs on the developments in Taiwan because this could have a domino effect to the Southeast Asian region and the South China Sea issue.
It is important because Manila will become a buffer zone if in case Taiwan will be taken by force by China. The rivalry between the US and China will be intensified, and the Philippines will have a crucial role in this competition, and definitely the Philippines will also be affected.
Experts say that future developments in Taiwan could have potential impact on the country's national security and on the lives of thousands of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines, Guangdong, China.
Meron ba?
Classes in quake-hit areas in northern Luzon will start on August 22nd. The same day, all schools nationwide are scheduled to open. The Education Department says they will put up temporary classrooms made of light materials and with roofing. It adds these classrooms can be set up in just 3 days. The agency says they're continuously coordinating with local governments for vacant lots, or to use vacant lots in their areas.
We are focusing po on, aside from asking for additional budget from the DBM, we are focusing on quick interventions para po hindi maantala yung pag-aaral ng ating mga learners.
DepEd is asking the Budget Department for an additional 1.4 billion pesos for these classrooms. That's aside from the 16 billion pesos needed for the reconstruction of classrooms damaged by past storms. A historical site where one of the most remembered Filipino revolutionary leaders of the 1700s once took refuge suffered major damage from last week's earthquake. Our George Quiles has that story.
This is the Carino House in Tayum Abra, a centuries-old structure built by Nicolas Carino, uncle of Filipina hero Gabriela Carino Silang. When Gabriela's husband Diego was assassinated, after leading a successful battle against the Spaniards in Vigan, Ilocos Sur, Gabriela fled to this house to consolidate the remaining forces and continue the war against the colonizers.
She started calling the people, the officers, and the soldiers of Now, this used to be where Gabriela Silang used to stay, pero hindi na siya na-maintain.
Beside the house, a museum was built by former Ambassador Rosario Carino after the death of her wife in 1993. It houses important artworks, both traditional and fine arts, from the Philippines and abroad. Part of the collection, a Juan Luna, a Fernando Amorsolo, and a Pablo Picasso. The museum also suffered a huge damage from the quake, forcing the family to close it to the public. The initial plan is to restore both the house and the museum on their own.
This thing is a work of nature, so we have to accept our losses, we have to accept, try to save what we can in honor of my father. But well, like the saying goes, we will rise stronger, better. We started this without assistance from the government. We will do it without the assistance of the government.
Billions of pesos may be needed to restore this important heritage site, but the Carinos say they'll do whatever it takes to preserve the property of national significance, not just for them, but for the next generation who may be inspired by the heroism of a Filipina named Gabriela Silang. From Tayum Abra, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Up next on Newsnight, Gila's head coach Chot Reyes welcomes lawmaker support for the national basketball team. And still trending, the controversial dead air, the 2022 Binibining Pilipinas Coronation Night. More after the break.
SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement, gama sa Davao para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement, ato ni bay. SMC, San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
Ito ang RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKT 1071 sa inyong mga radyo, ang Radyo Ronda sa Davao.
Welcome back. Gilas Pilipinas head coach Chot Reyes welcomes a Senate resolution seeking ways to support the team. Reyes told CNN Philippine Sports Desk he's open to assistance from both the public and private sectors. 5 senators look to review policies to help the men's national basketball team after dismal finishes in recent events. The squad fell out of the top 8 in the 2022 FIBA Asia Cup for the first time in 15 years. Over in the PBA, the Philippine Cup semis kick off tomorrow with defending champion TNT Tropang Giga facing the Magnolia Hotshots. The game tips off at 3 p.m. at the Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City. And at 6, the Meralco Bolts go head-to-head against the San Miguel Beermen. In entertainment, Binibining Pilipinas hosts Catriona Gray and Nicole Cordoves clear the air, or perhaps dead air, in announcing the winners at Sunday's coronation. Gray and Cordoves clarified on social media the results they announced on stage were accurate and that the event's tabulators even confirmed their validity. The statement comes after netizens speculated a Steve Harvey moment may have happened. There was about 3 minutes of silence, or dead air, before Miss Binibining Pilipinas International was announced. The hosts and pageant officials were seen in a huddle while this happened. Gray and Cordoves did not explain why there was a pause. Now for Star Wars fans, here's a sneak peek at the latest installment of the legendary franchise. Disney Plus released a trailer for Andor, which explores the beginning of the rebellion against the Galactic Empire. Diego Luna is back for his role as Cassian Andor and his character's evolution from a thief into a noble hero.
To steal from the Empire? You just walk in like you belong. They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. They can't imagine that someone like me would ever get inside their house.
The first 3 episodes stream on Disney Plus by September 21st. The platform has yet to arrive in the country. And from television to theaters, whether you're looking for thrills, chills, or the stories behind the headlines, there's a movie for you coming soon. CNN's David Daniel has a trio of trailers in tonight's Hollywood Minute.
We're doing something Saturday. The 3 of us, best holiday of the year, just like always. It'll be wicked.
Friends vow to spend the night locked in a supposedly haunted Halloween store. What could go wrong? Here's a look at the first trailer for Spirit Halloween, the movie, which arrives on VOD October 11th.
Your commanding officer calls you one of the best pilots he's ever seen. It must be hard being the naval aviator. Absolutely.
Devotion, inspired by a true story, focuses on 2 elite U.S. Navy fighter pilots during the Korean War. Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country and Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick star in the war drama, which flies into theaters November 23rd.
You really don't understand the things that you have until they're washed away from you.
A year after Hurricane Katrina, the population of New Orleans had dropped by half. And 15 years later, 100,000 residents still had not returned. The documentary Forced Change looks at the effects of that massive displacement of people and whether climate change makes it more likely in more places. Forced Change is now available on digital platforms. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Hontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Ito ang RPN, Radio Philippines Network. DXKT 1071 sa inyong mga radyo, ang Radyo Ronda sa Davao.